Right, so there was two reasons, as I said at the start of the stream, the two reasons I streamed Overkills The Walking Dead today. One being, I just wanted to play the game, and obviously it's been 2 years since the game came out in November of 2018. But also, because I wanted to make a video a long time ago. I'm just going to actually close the game down. 2 years ago, not 2 years ago, sorry. Earlier this year and late last year, I wanted to make a video on Overkills The Walking Dead, basically covering what I knew of Season 2. So, I've done research over the last few months, and I ended up scrapping the video. Two reasons for that. One being I just didn't want to make a video on it anymore, so I wasn't really interested in doing it. But also, the first half of the script used in the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners video is actually the start of that video. So me talking about everything that happened with Overkill and Starbreeze and Skybound and that all merged into that video. So the leftover would have been what happened with Season 2. So as we know, Season 2 was meant to be of 9 episodes. 3 were released, and those were No Sanctuary, which is the first one I played today, which is mainly an asset flip of Hell or High Water, and was the only paid DLC. We then had one set which was Accord Oil, or that's where it's based, which is like a small map which has some expeditions which introduced the siphoning petrol mechanic for a supply run. And then finally you had, I think it's Enemy of My Enemy, which is in Appletown, which is a really good level, and it also introduced the expedition about actually getting a weapon from it. So you do a supply run, and if you can find a key, you could then find a weapon. It's the only expedition in the game that allows you to have a weapon. And the thing that's interesting about that level is I personally think Enemy of My Enemy was designed for Tanner in mind. Now, the next episode that was going to be released was obviously cut 2 days before it was meant to come out. The plug was pulled on the game, so obviously they couldn't release it. But I have for you, in a folder somewhere on my computer, some images we're going to go through, and I'll talk about stuff as well while I'm at it. Okay, so the first thing I want to go through, this is basically a rundown of all the episodes that we have missing. So, obviously, episode 4, The Fugitive, is going to be focused on Tanner. Episode 5, Best Served Cold, Tightening the Noose, 6 Feet Under, Search and Rescue, We Are the People, were all going to be other missions. Now, with Overkills The Walking Dead, they had a tradition of any new level that comes out would have an achievement behind it, and every time it had 3 achievements. There's only 15, so you can imagine how many. There's going to be 5 more missions by the end of Season 2. Each new level would have 3 achievements that go with it, and they would all be hidden. They did it with Enemy of My Enemy, No Sanctuary, and so on, and Enemy of My Enemy had the worst achievement possible in it, being you had to get these hand cosmetic stuff, and you can do it. I've done everything. These achievements are unobtainable. The only people who have them are either people who cheated to use Steam Achievement Manager, or people who had access to the beta. Now, I should have really got a screenshot of SteamDB for this. Overkill have finished Season 2. Season 2 is a fully finished product. We know that. Elizabeth has confirmed that in the Overkills The Walking Dead server a long time ago, and people have tested it. I know people who work with Overkill have tested it because I'm friends with some of the people who are community managers who have the achievements unlocked. I've seen it when they've unlocked it. I've asked about it. I wasn't allowed access, as you can imagine. Also, if I did, I wouldn't be able to say anything anyway because of NDA. I'd love to sit here right now and go, these would have been great levels. As much as I'd love to say that. I can't say anything. I don't know anything in that sense. But I do know more to give you an insight of what Season 2 could have had in store. I don't know anything about the levels. The last level would have been obviously the fight with Patterson, which is hyped up at the end of Season 1. But if you go back to a forum post from Elizabeth back in 2019 on 21st of February about the week 8 updates, there's a few things in this that are worth noting. So obviously you've got the Walking Dev schedule, which you can ignore, but the main things were going to be a new playable tutorial, new weapons, and the main part of that episode, which is obviously called The Fugitive, Tanner, was actually delayed till the month after. He was finished, but he wasn't balanced. The new tutorial for The Fugitive was going to replace the first level in Season 1, which is the first shot, which is that awful zombie defense level which has like a really crap tutorial within it. It was going to play out as a proper tutorial, giving you an idea on how to use stuff like crafting, takedowns, and I imagine it would show you the hordometer as well. And another thing which I found, I don't know if this was actually coming out at the same time, but Georgetown was going to get Expeditions as well, like you can see here. Georgetown Expeditions are coming, but they'll be later in the second season. It was in January, just as the first or the second episode released, so I imagine it would have been in the next episode or the episode after. But then also you can see here as well, Elizabeth was saying it would fully replace the first shot, so you can't play it on Overkill, you have to play it on the 1 difficulty. Besides that, you've got nothing. You've got the first shot for that little bit, and then if you're still in the Anderson camp, whenever it gets invaded by walkers, that's the only time you'd ever play that level again, which is great. The only reason to play that level really is to test weapons out, so for me it's a good thing that they were going to change. That's the main thing. Do you think this game has the possibility of being revived perhaps, or do you think it's fully in the cone? I don't think this game would ever come back out. I think it deserves to have the rest of the second season released. I think there's been so much bad press on it that there's no point trying to re-release it. It's got too much bad blood with it. I will admit I regret this back in the day. I still stand by my opinions on my review, but I wish I'd done what I originally planned, which was to do a follow-up for each new episode of season 2. And then after the second episode, my brain went, nah, just, wait until it's all out and then review it as one whole re-review next year. And then the game got cancelled, so that went out the window. I think they were on the right path. Enemy of My Enemy and Accord Oil both are completely new maps, and they're very well done. I think No Sanctuary being the first level to come up was a bad move, but the new levels they fully developed worked really well. And Enemy of My Enemy is interesting because, like I was saying, it's definitely built with Tanner in mind, because he is a scout character. And I will go on to Tanner in a second, but in the main part of that level, and I will show you later on in the stream, you're downstairs and there's no power, and it's pretty dark, and you're surrounded with walkers. Now the scout character like Reyna has the smoke grenade, which is incredibly useful when you're trying to fix the wire. And in that level they also have lore pointing towards what Tanner would have used, which is, I've now got to jump to another folder. I've got a couple of folders full of stuff. Shit, where is it? Ah, there it is. So in that level you'll find Rotten Flesh, which is to do with the fugitive. In the update when they introduced Tanner, I personally believe, and I think I've managed to get this confirmed before, I can't remember from who though, Tanner would have been a scout class, which we know from the second episode where they mention he is a scout, but his ability would have been, like his equipment would have been walker guts, so you can then blend yourself into the environment. So like in the TV show, like in the comics, you douse yourself in walker blood, and unless you do something like I imagine in the game for balance sake, if you fired your gun or used your melee weapon, you'd be exposed. But besides that, you could walk through a crowd of walkers, and in that level it is designed in such a way that it's clear as day that this is what they were going for. But obviously the game was cancelled, you couldn't test that theory, but I imagine that's what the case was. So the next update, which again going back to the fugitive update, the main things to notice in there was obviously the new tutorial level and the new weapons. Now if you go and look at the Trello page, which is still up, they do have some information on what was coming. So, Jesus Christ, I'm running out of breath, so I'm talking really quickly. In development, host migration, you can imagine what they work, like how some of this will work, like host migration, quick match filters. Horde redesign, I don't know anything about. Human AI overhaul was mainly, I believe, hitboxes. But then at the bottom you got spoiler, that was meant to be Heather as a playable character again. But weapon skins and the Wanderer's weapon pack. Now, the weapon skins, I know for a fact, because they mentioned this before in one of the streams, I can't be able to go through all of them to get you the clip. The weapon skins were purely cosmetic and in-game. I imagine you'd use the blueprints to get them. Which, being the Wanderer's a thing in it, it would have meant an extra benefit to actually collecting the Wanderer for weapons you already have. So you can, trade blueprints for weapon skins. Okay, so we have 4 files to go through. So this is what the weapon skins would have looked like. There were going to be 3 different variants. One being Overkill red, and then, I don't know, blue and yellow. And they had it for the axe again, another axe, and then the machete. But like you can see, there is a pattern. There's the Overkill skin, there's a midnight blue, and then you've got orange and yellow, which looks more like a tool shop thing. And I like the little detail, oh shit, I like the detail here with the little zombie control on the axes. I think they look really nice. I don't know if these were going to be you just use the blueprints once, or these were going to be like a spray-on skin in a sense where it would decrease over time. Like a time skin mechanic would work in this kind of game. It would be interesting to see. But yeah, that's the weapon skins. I think they look nice. I think if they did it properly and didn't try to monetize it like they did with Payday 2, this would have been fine. I genuinely have nothing against these skins. Tell you what, I do really like the skull on that one as well. They kind of look like old CSGO skins. Yeah, they do. I imagine this was like, I think someone asked for this kind of mechanic and they took the idea on board. But yeah, so in that update, I imagine that would have been the same update, because the Fugitive didn't have a lot going for it because Tannin was delayed a bit. But obviously they did say in that one as well, you have new weapons. So I've got to remember which folder it is. This one. There were going to be 3 new weapons in the game. There's going to be an SMG, which is the Uzi for Maya and anyone playing a medic or support class. A new crossbow, because I don't know how you can do variety in crossbows, but it's a thing. And then there was going to be like a PSG one. The problem with this for me is the weapon pack. The only thing which seems useful is going to be the Uzi, because a semi-auto sniper rifle on Grant isn't that beneficial. Like, unless you're using, well, I mean, yeah, the AWP is like the meta for Grant. Any other sniper rifle isn't really going to do much. The bow, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what's going to go on with this stuff. There's like pump. So regarding crossbows, there's pump action crossbows. I don't know much about crossbows personally. I mean, it looks nice. I like the renders of them. Like, the people who did this look really nice. I kind of wish the Uzi was in it, because again, like Left 4 Dead, this would have just been a great one for like a starting SMG. You also have some knights as well, which, oh, look at that, they look pretty nice. I did find as well, these are already in the game, but I'll show you them anyway. I did find another art station which had like other weapons and mods, like attachments and stuff, which, you know, they all look pretty nice. It's insane how much detail goes into this stuff, and then it's just killed in engine. But I think that's most of the stuff I got covered. The next thing would be, and this is the big one for me. So we know Tanner was a scout class. We also know what his melee weapon was. And if you're curious to see what Tanner looks like, here you go. This is a Halloween skin, which brings me on to another thing in a second. This is a Halloween skin render of Tanner, who was going to be the new survivor that was going to be added originally in The Fugitive, but then was added in, well, I imagine added in the next episode. His melee weapon of choice would have been a spear, and I imagine it would work similar to the stick, probably less range, but you know, the same like swing mechanic. He was a scout character, would have probably had low health, and yeah, used Walker Guts as his way of like getting around. His actual ability holding down V, I'm not entirely sure what that would have been. I imagine, considering Reyna has like, well, Reyna and Heather have the ability to like scan the area for items, it would probably be something to do with humans. Being that I'm going from the TV show in this one. When the Whisperers were brought into it, if you're a Whisperer, you know who within the Horde is a human. Like, you have a better idea of who it would be. So my guess is, due to experience of being like blending in with the Walkers for so long, he can point out enemies easier than like Grant or Aiden or someone else. But yeah, I like the look of the character. His hair looks a bit weird though. It's a weird hairstyle. Like, you can see there, like on the right, he's got like a, where it splits. It's just part of his hair's missing. And then if you look at the lore item, which I just fucking closed, you've got here like the Fugitive, and it doesn't do him much justice in game. Because I remember seeing that first, and it was like, yeah, that looks really crap. I really thought he was going to be crap. But then when you see the actual render of him, he does look really good. But yeah, the main things obviously would be the spear, like a new melee weapon, which is great to see. It's nice to see that each character would have their signature melee. I still think it would have been nice to see a wrench, but I'm not going to go against a spear. From that though, as you can imagine, there was obviously a Halloween skin for Tanner. But I've also got 3 others. One for Grant, one for Bridger, I had to remember her name for a second, and then one for Aiden. I'm not a fan of Grant's. I think the coat doesn't do it any justice. Fucking Bridger and Aiden, however, like, I really like the detail in the face. Does look really good. But yeah, that's... I did research over this for a while. I tried to find what I could. Obviously, the Trello is all public knowledge. Going from the achievements, it would have been 5 episodes, would have been actual missions. The Fugitive would have just been a major, I assume, like a major quality of life update with new expeditions, an actual tutorial system, and then probably some like rebalances here and there. I know people were screaming for silencers to be adjusted slightly because people would run out like way before the end of a level, which, I mean, on harder difficulties, that's to be expected. Somewhere within here, though, the legendary items would have been dropped. I know that much. I remember, again, I think it was one of the streams they said, oh, we have, like, the legendary items are in-game because people have hacked them in, but they don't want to release them until they've been balanced yet. But yeah, I originally wanted to do this as a full video. I didn't think there was enough for it, and I just lost interest in the project. I really wish I could have got my hands on the beta, even if it was just to play on my... I do want closure on this chapter. I think Season 2 had the potential to be something more, but I think Skybound is the main cause of it. I think the decision was a bit shitty, but yeah. I tweeted about this before and I didn't get any trouble then, so hopefully I don't get in trouble for this now. But yeah, that's everything I know about Season 2. Not a lot. We knew how many levels there were going to be. We could assume that the end would have just been killing off Patterson, considering even if they released it, they'd have had to end it because they wouldn't be able to make any more. The fight with Patterson would have been at the end. It would probably been the other levels were like trying to take out people in the ranks, similar to how you fight the person at the end of Season 1, so it's like a build up to the main finale. How would the game would have been if they were given more time? Do you mean, like, actually you're gonna have to rephrase that question, Monster Man. Do you mean, how do I think the game would have ended if they were given more time? So like, let's say they swap back to Unreal earlier on than sticking with Valhalla. I mean, the game would have been a lot better. I genuinely think if Skybound delayed the game one more time, this would have been a better overall product. Like, I've said this countless times, but I don't fully hate this game. There's definitely things wrong with it. The majority of the problems I can understand of people not liking this game, but the game was built in just over a year, and that alone is, you know, that's nothing to scoff at, considering they were fighting like against a brick wall. No one was paying attention higher up, and it was their fault. The people working at the bottom had to do all the labour. They did what they could, and I don't think it's a terrible product. I think Season 2 was pushing that they were learning and they were making progress, but it wasn't enough, unfortunately.